Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss integration of metabolism. To download lecture notes and other interesting stuff related to biochemistry, please visit website biochemistrybasics.com. Before going in the detail of integration of metabolism, first let's see type of the question that can be asked from this particular topic in theory exam. So the long answer question like what is integration metabolism? Discuss the integration of metabolism at various levels and its significance. Metabolic pathways of carbohydrate, lipids, and proteins occur simultaneously, and the network of reactions in metabolism is coordinated. Each pathway is able to sense the status of others to function optimally to meet the needs of the body. All the major metabolic pathways do not operate in every tissue at any given time. However, cells and organs cooperate for the common good of the body. Together, they control the everyday challenges of overeating, fasting, and muscular activity. This is the picture showing the generation of common degradation product of major nutrients like protein, carbohydrates, and fat, which is acetyl-CoA. This acetyl-CoA enters into the citric acid cycle for the complete oxidation, and this acetyl-CoA after complete oxidation gets converted to the carbon dioxide and water, and there is a generation of ATP. Now we will see definition of integration of metabolism. So the various anabolic and catabolic pathways by which carbohydrates, lipids and proteins are processed for energy supply or for the biosynthesis of various compounds required by the cells are closely coordinated. This coordination between three metabolites is called as a integration of metabolism. That is about definition of integration of metabolism. Integration of metabolism is considered at two levels. First one is at cellular level and second one is tissue or organ level. So first we will discuss integration of metabolism at cellular level and then we will see integration of metabolism at tissue or organ level. Integration of metabolism at cellular level. Integration of metabolism at cellular level includes different metabolic pathways of glucose, fatty acids, glycerol and amino acids at the cellular level which results in conversion of carbohydrates into fats and fats into the carbohydrates, conversion of carbohydrates into proteins and proteins into carbohydrates, conversion of proteins into fats. First, we will see conversion of carbohydrates into fats and fats into carbohydrate. So carbohydrates, particularly glucose, are metabolized to pyruvate and then pyruvate is converted to the acetyl-CoA by pyruvate dehydrogenase reaction, which is a irreversible reaction. And this acetyl-CoA is the precursor for the synthesis of fatty acids. Fatty acids that are produced combine with glycerol to form triacylglycerol, and this glycerol part is supplied from the glucose. Now there cannot be net conversion of fatty acids having an even number of carbon atoms which form acetyl-CoA to glucose or glycogen. Only a fatty acid having an odd number of carbon atom is glucogenic. That means they can produce glucose as it forms molecule of propionyl-CoA upon beta oxidation. This propionyl-CoA can be converted to succinyl-CoA, which is an intermediate of citric acid cycle, which can be converted to glucose by gluconeogenesis. The glycerol moiety of triacylglycerol is converted to glucose by gluconeogenesis. Now we will see conversion of carbohydrates into proteins and proteins into carbohydrates. So carbon skeletons of non-essential amino acids can be produced from the carbohydrate via the intermediates of citric acid cycle and transamination, that is transfer of amino group. By reversal of these processes, glucogenic amino acids yield intermediates of citric acid cycle. They are converted to glucose by gluconeogenesis. Now, conversion of proteins to fats. Conversion of carbon skeletons of glucogenic amino acids to fatty acid is possible either by formation of pyruvate and acetyl-CoA. Generally, however, the net conversion of amino acids to the fat is not significant process. Now, conversion of fats to protein. It is not possible for the net conversion of fatty acids to amino acid to take place. This is the picture showing integration of metabolism at cellular level. As we have discussed, carbohydrate can be converted to the fat. End product of carbohydrate metabolism is pyruvate, and pyruvate via the pyruvate dehydrogenase reaction is converted to the acetyl-CoA, and this acetyl-CoA can be utilized for the formation of fatty acids. On either way, this acetyl-CoA can enter into the citric acid cycle for the complete oxidation. There is a synthesis of glucose from odd carbon number of fatty acids. There is a synthesis of propionyl-CoA from odd carbon number of fatty acid by beta oxidation. This propionyl-CoA can be converted to the succinyl-CoA, which enters into the TCA cycle, and there is a synthesis of glucose via gluconeogenesis. There can be synthesis of fatty acids from the proteins. Amino acids can be converted, carbon skeletons of glucogenic amino acid can be converted to the fat via synthesis of pyruvate or acetyl-CoA. But there is no synthesis of proteins from the fat. So that is integration of metabolism at cellular level. Now we will see integration of metabolism at tissue or organ level. So integration of metabolism at tissue or organ level includes the interrelationship of different tissues and organs to meet the metabolic demands for the whole body. Liver, skeletal muscle, adipose tissue, brain and heart are the major organs involved in integration of metabolism at tissue or organ level. First, we will see role of liver. Major roles of the liver are maintenance of the blood glucose levels. During the fat state, liver takes up the excess glucose and store it as a glycogen or convert it to the fatty acid. And during the fasting state, liver produces glucose for the body by glycogenolysis, that is breakdown of glycogen, and gluconeogenesis, that is synthesis of glucose from various non-carbohydrate sources. Liver synthesizes ketone bodies during starvation and supplies to the peripheral tissue as a source of energy. Remember, liver can synthesize ketone body, but it cannot utilize ketone body because it doesn't contain thiophorase enzyme for the utilization of ketone body. Now, role of skeletal muscle. So skeletal muscle maintains the large stores of glycogen which provide energy during exertion or exercise. During starvation, free fatty acids and ketone bodies supplied by the liver are oxidized in preference to glucose in muscle. Protein which is present in the muscle may be used as a fuel source if no other fuel is available. Pyruvate, which is produced at the end of the glycolysis in the skeletal muscle, may be converted to either lactate or alanine, and it is transported to the liver where it is used to regenerate glucose via gluconeogenesis. Now, role of adipose tissue. During fat state, adipose tissue synthesize the triacylglycerols from the glucose and free fatty acid, and during the fasting state, triacylglycerols are converted to glycerol and fatty acids which are transported or exported to the liver and other tissues. Role of heart muscle. Heart muscle contains essentially no energy reservoirs and must be continuously supplied with energy from the liver and adipose tissue. Role of brain. Brain tissue normally uses glucose as an exclusive fuel, except during starvation when it can adapt to use ketone bodies as an energy source. The brain contains essentially no fuel reservoirs and must be continuously supplied with the fuel from the liver. This is the picture showing the integration of metabolism among major tissues of the body. As we have discussed, liver maintains the blood glucose level, and during the fat state, liver takes up the excess glucose and store it as a glycogen or convert it to the fatty acid. During the fasting state, there is a glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis by the liver, which are the major sources of glucose for the rest of the body. And the skeletal muscle maintains the large stores of glycogen, which provide source of glucose for energy during exertion. During starvation, free fatty acids and ketone bodies are oxidized in preference to glucose in muscle by inhibiting its entry to the cell. And the protein which is present in the muscle may be mobilized as a fuel source if no other source is available. And the pyruvate which is produced at the end of the glycolysis may be converted to either lactate or alanine, and which is exported to the liver for the gluconeogenesis. Adipose tissue during the fat state synthesizes the triacylglycerol from the glucose and free fatty acid, and during the fasting state, these triacylglycerols are converted to the glycerol and fatty acid, and they are exported to the liver and other tissues as a fuel. Heart muscles contain essentially no fuel reservoirs and must be continuously supplied with fuel from the liver and adipose tissue. Same way, brain doesn't contain any exclusively fuel reservoirs, and there is a continuous supply of glucose from the liver, and in the starvation there is a supply of ketone bodies for the energy purpose in the brain. So this is the integration of metabolism at tissue or organ level. Now we will see significance of integration of metabolism. Integration of metabolism ensures supply of suitable fuel for all tissues at all times from the fully fed state to the totally starved state. Under positive caloric balance, that is in well-fed state, significant proportion of the food energy intake is stored as either glycogen or fat. And under negative caloric balance, that is in the starvation, fatty acids are oxidized in preference to glucose to spare the glucose for those tissues, that is brain and erythrocytes, that require it under all conditions. So that is all about integration of metabolism. These are my reference. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe Biochemistry Basics by Dr. Amit. And don't forget to press the bell icon so you can get all the notifications from it.